Hi, I'm Phyllis Lang, author of Deep Sky Planner, and welcome to Nightwear. This webinar will explain a few ways that you can import into Deep Sky Planner a list of objects from other sources made by other software. So the first way to get some information into Deep Sky Planner from another source, of course, would be just to exchange an observing plan document made by another user of Deep Sky Planner and import it into Deep Sky Planner for your own use. So I can show you how to do that. Just go to the File menu and open a plan file. Now, the plan file, all it contains is text. It is XML formatted text, but it is only text. So feel free to exchange these via email or a cloud storage service or even a flash drive. Whatever you want to do to exchange files with other users. Now, when you open an observing plan document created by someone else, the most likely problem that you'll have is that you'll get a warning that the observing location is unknown. And that would be because the original user had created a location for their own use, and it was still set in the plan document that you received. So this really isn't a problem. If you see the warning message, just allow the program to continue, and it will default to a blank location with latitude 0, longitude 0, which is just Greenwich. And you can come to this tab and select your location that you want to use, and then when you store the file, from that point on, it will have your location in it. So this really isn't much of a problem, and once you have the new plan document, all the objects will show up and so forth. You can use the usual Deep Sky Planner features to help plan your observing. So that's about it for exchanging observing documents, except for one minor fact, and that is that when you store your plan document, some personal information is stored with it, like the location, or perhaps the sort order for the report, or perhaps some of the filtering options. Now, you can save the document and automatically remove those personal items. And in fact, when I create plans that I upload to the plan library, this is usually what I do, and that is to save it with the clean option. So if you come to the File menu, look for Clean and Save. When you choose that option, it will show you the usual save dialog, but it will remove all the personalized information from the document. And you'll probably want to do that, but as we've already seen, it's not much of a problem if you don't. Another way to import object lists into Deep Sky Planner is to use the File Plan Import feature, and you'll find that here. So what it will do is read a simple list of object designations and create a plan file for it. And to give you an idea of the input, this is just a simple text list of object names that were made with Notepad. So that's a pretty simple input. So let's go and show the feature itself, Import Plan File. And with the Plan Importer, we need to choose the input file name, and we'll choose the one that I just showed you, this one. And you can choose any file. The system will create an output file for you, name, and you can see that it's in the same folder as the original by default, and it uses the same file name by default, but the extension is changed to DSPlan because that's the extension that indicates to Deep Sky Planner that it is a plan file in the correct format. So again, you can change where the output is stored, but we'll just go with these defaults for now. Now, the file I showed was simply a text file with object names. So this is the proper selection for that format. If you have a delimited text file, then you can use that as long as you choose the delimited text file option, you define the delimiting character, and you explain where in the file that the designations appear. Now, for this file, we don't really have delimited text, but we can execute the procedure and get proper results because we can choose whatever delimiter we want because there are none in the file. But we must target the process to find designations in field number 0. Now, I'm a long-time C programmer, so I start counting things like this at 0. So keep that in mind when you're choosing the field number. So if you look at the preview of the input file, the one and only field that is contained in this file is field number 0. So we have this set properly. Now, this procedure can input the user fields if you tell the process where they are in that delimited file. If they do not exist, then set these to -1. -1 means not present. The other things that you might want to try is that as the procedure runs, it can search the database for common names associated with the object. It can search for digitized sky survey links for the object. Now, this really is the critical difference between this procedure and the one that I'll explain in a moment. As this process runs, it will attempt to find a match for these designations in the database. If it does not find a match, then the item is not imported into the plan file. That's very important. So here we can go ahead and choose which type of designation to put into the plan file, and we can define the number of lines at the top of the file to skip before we start processing. So I'm going to go ahead and process this input file, and you can see that the process shows its status as it runs. We can see that it reads the file and parses it. It examines the lines of text in the file. And then this part of the process begins to search the database for the designations. It just happens that all 6 of the objects were found in the database and stored in the plan, and the import is complete. So we can look at the results of that process by opening it. This is the file that was just created, and as you can see, everything was imported into the plan file. The plan name defaults to the name of the file that was used for input. We don't know what category of objects are in there. Your username will be put into the author or contributor box, and then the description of the plan defaults to plan imported by Deep Sky Planner. You should change these data items to suit your need. And otherwise, you can use this plan document now with all the features within Deep Sky Planner. So that's pretty much a complete wrap-up of the tools within Deep Sky Planner itself. But there is another tool available to take care of other needs, and we'll explore that next. So we have one other tool in the toolbox to generate plan files from files created by other software. And this tool is generally useful when the designations in your input file are not being found by the other tools in Deep Sky Planner, because designations can come in many forms, and there are designations that don't live in Deep Sky Planner's database, but you may want to use the data within Deep Sky Planner. So recently a user sent me a file that he had been using for years in Astro Planner, and he had built this file to contain objects of particular interest to him. So he asked me to convert his Astro Planner output to something useful in Deep Sky Planner. So I have an in-house tool to accommodate this need, and it looks something like this. And it's my Plan Importer tool. Now, the reason that this is an in-house tool and not something distributed publicly is that I don't have any documentation for this program to distribute with it. And more importantly, it seems like each time a user sends me a file to be converted, there's some new unusual format of data that I have to create special code to handle. And that was the case with the Astro Planner format file. The size information and the object type information were in a format that the program wasn't prepared to use, so I had to make some modifications. And of course, now they're in the program, and if you have an Astro Planner file you'd like to have converted, the program can now do that. So this tool works very much like the other file/import plan tool. We need to choose a file, and this is the file that the user sent. And again, the default output file and folder are generated. So when we open the plan, we can see the preview of it. And by looking at the file, I can learn about how the format is set up in this file. And I'll have to describe the file to the tool so that it can parse the information from this format and place it into a Deep Sky Planner plan document format. Now, luckily, I have the ability to save all these settings into a file, and I call this a parsing map. That's just a name I use. So if I load the rules for parsing this Astro Planner formatted document, it reads in all the necessary information, like the field delimiters in this file are tab characters, and these are the field locations of the various data items we want to pull from the file. And you'll notice the asterisk. The asterisk fields must be present or the process can't work. So we must have a designation. We must have an object type that we can map into a Deep Sky Planner object type. And then the others are fairly self-explanatory. The ones, again, with the asterisks are required. So we can import the file, and you can see the tool running. Here it's examining all the text lines in the input file, and you can see it was a rather long file. And now it is looking things up in the database. And we'll get a summary at the end here. The summary shows that not all of the objects were imported. So it's important to be able to save the status of the import so that either I or the original user can look at it and determine which objects need to be added manually. And the reasons why an object would not be imported, for example, this item, blank object type. Each object has to have an object type to be inserted into a plan. So that's pretty much it. We were able to complete this plan processing for my user. I returned it to him and he's using it now to do his observing. So if you have a file that's in a delimited text format and you are not able to get a successful import with the Deep Sky Planner tool, which is this one, import plan file, then you can send me an email and be prepared to share the file itself, and it should be in a delimited text format. I'll look at the file and try to determine exactly how the data is laid out, and I'll try to create a plan from that file for you. Please expect to have to exchange a few emails in case I have questions about how things were added to the plan so that I can give you back the best reformatted document that I can. So that pretty much wraps it up. The 3 ways that you can import an observing list of objects into Deep Sky Planner so that you can use the features in Deep Sky Planner to plan your observing and conduct your observing. Thanks for watching.